Time may have blurred the spotlight for many celebrities, but some icons continue to defy it, standing tall with the weight of a century behind them. These stars were here before color television, before rock and roll, before the internet changed fame forever. And yet, somehow, they still walk among us, carrying stories that stretch from the trenches of World War II to the scrolling feeds of TikTok. They weren't just witnesses to Hollywood history, they made it. And in the middle of it all, one man still dances. At 99, Dick Van Dyke isn't just surviving, he's thriving. For more than 7 decades, Dick Van Dyke has been Hollywood's joyful rebel, blending comedy, song, and elegance into a style all his own. Born in 1925, he broke into Broadway in the late 50s, but it was his Tony Award-winning role in Bye Bye Birdie that shot him into the stratosphere. Audiences couldn't get enough of his unpredictable charm, light-footed, razor-sharp, and always one step ahead. Then came his era-defining sitcom, The Dick Van Dyke Show, where his chemistry with Mary Tyler Moore turned Monday nights into must-see TV. He collected 3 Emmys for that run, each a testament to his comedic genius. His transition to film was seamless. In 1964, he leapt onto screens as Bert in Mary Poppins, delivering a performance so warm and electric, it made his flawed British accent part of the legend. A lesser-known story, he once turned down the role of James Bond with a chuckle, admitting he couldn't pull off the accent. That humility only deepened fans' admiration. He followed up with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in 1968, a fantasy adventure that remains magical to this day. Even children decades later remember the flying car and the eerie villain, but it was Van Dyke who gave the film its soul. As time rolled forward, he never stopped working. He returned to TV in the 70s, took on the quirky doctor-detective role in Diagnosis Murder in the 90s, and charmed new generations in movies like Night at the Museum. In 2018, he astonished everyone by dancing once again in Mary Poppins Returns. His energy was timeless. At 99, he still jokes about new roles. He recently hinted at joining a sitcom as someone's wise-cracking grandfather. But in April 2025, he announced he was stepping back from public events due to the difficulty of travel. Still, he smiled and said he was praying to reach 99, and then laughed because he already had. Van Dyke's financial legacy matches his creative one. Over the years, he built a modest but stable portfolio, prioritizing simplicity over extravagance. While never one to flaunt wealth, he owns a home in Malibu with panoramic views and invested in blue-chip stocks early on. He owns a classic Jaguar E-Type, a nod to vintage style, and wears a modest Rolex Explorer, functional, timeless, like him. Business-wise, Van Dyke never chased endorsements or risky ventures. Instead, he placed his trust in long-term investments and residuals from his hit shows. His insurance strategy reflected this stability: career coverage through SAG, health coverage through industry unions, and property insurance for his coastal estate. Financial experts often cite him as a model for actors who seek longevity without burnout. His lesson? Stay relevant, stay grounded, and know when to say no. Then there's Eva Marie Saint, whose life is an echo of Hollywood's golden years. Born on the 4th of July in 1924, she wasn't plucked from obscurity like a fairy tale starlet. She climbed one rung at a time, from NBC page to radio actress to early TV standout. Before many knew her name, she was already being called the Helen Hayes of television. But it was her very first film that made the world stop and look. On the Waterfront in 1954 wasn't just a breakthrough, it was an explosion. She played opposite Marlon Brando and walked away with an Academy Award. Paid just $7,500 for that role. She delivered a performance so real, it etched itself into film history. Director Elia Kazan orchestrated the emotional tension between her and Brando with precision, creating unforgettable chemistry. Kazan reportedly told her not to let Brando into a room during a scene, and Brando, ever the tease, tried to provoke her. She stayed in character, rattled and vulnerable, and the result was magic. In 1959, she transformed again, this time under Alfred Hitchcock in North by Northwest. The legendary director molded her image. He coached her voice, guided her movements, and curated her look to embody elegance and mystery. She played opposite Cary Grant with poise, redefining herself from dramatic actress to silver screen siren. Hitchcock made it clear, no more gloomy apartments, no more worn-down roles. She was to be seen, admired, and remembered. And she was. She chose quality over quantity, appearing in fewer than 25 films over her career. But each was selected with purpose. From the intense Exodus to the humorous, "The Russians are coming, the Russians are coming," her range was expansive. In 2006, she appeared in Superman Returns as Martha Kent, while old footage of Brando, her first co-star, played Jor-El. That moment closed a cinematic circle spanning half a century. Beyond the camera, her personal life was equally extraordinary. She married director Jeffrey Hayden in 1951, and they stayed together for 65 years until his passing. No scandals, no spotlight drama. Just a steady, supportive love story rarely seen in the industry. She remained active well into her 90s, mentoring young artists and participating in theater events. Her final screen appearance was in 2021, and at 100, she now holds the title of the oldest living Oscar winner. Her presence alone is a testament to resilience, grace, and staying power. Eva Marie Saint's wealth reflects her selective career. She owns a stately home in Beverly Hills, filled with mementos from the golden age of film. She never pursued luxury in the traditional sense, but her taste leaned toward quiet sophistication. Her insurance holdings included legacy health policies and estate protection designed to preserve her legacy. She didn't invest in flashy businesses, but did participate in philanthropic arts programs and nonprofit educational initiatives. Her financial lesson is one of patience. Work less, choose wisely, and build a life outside the limelight that feels just as rich. It's almost surreal to think that Mel Brooks, a man born in 1926, is still making the world laugh nearly a century later. At 98, he's not just part of comedy history, he is comedy history. Most careers taper off with age, but Mel's is a dazzling exception. In 2024, just when it seemed like there were no more awards left for him to win, the Academy surprised everyone by honoring him with an honorary Oscar. It was more than a tribute. It was a reminder that this man's influence is still rippling through every corner of the industry. But how did a young man from Brooklyn go from writing jokes in cramped TV studios to becoming one of the rare individuals in the world to win an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony? His rise began with Your Show of Shows, where a young Brooks sat in a room filled with comedic giants like Neil Simon and Woody Allen, tossing out jokes faster than the camera could record. It was chaotic genius, and it's where he met Carl Reiner. Their famous act, The 2,000-Year-Old Man, wasn't planned. It grew from spontaneous banter into Grammy-winning comedy albums that eventually saved Brooks from near financial collapse. At one point, those albums were all he had to keep the lights on. The world laughed, and Mel paid his rent. He was bold enough to turn an outrageous concept, The Producers, a musical about Hitler, into an Oscar-winning film. Years later, he reimagined it as a Broadway show that broke records. Most would have quit while ahead. Mel reinvented his own success. Then, in 1974, he pulled off the unthinkable. Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, two masterpieces, released in the same year. One shattered taboos about racism in the Wild West. The other paid loving tribute to old monster films. He didn't just direct, He dove into roles, sometimes playing 5 characters in a single film without ever taking credit. That relentless energy wasn't an act. It was Mel. Even outside the spotlight, his choices were daring. Brooks secretly launched Brooks Films, a production company that birthed serious films like The Elephant Man and The Fly. He didn't slap his name on the credits because he didn't want audiences distracted by his comedy persona. That level of self-awareness, that deep respect for the craft, it's rare, and it's powerful. Financially, Brooks's empire grew quietly but massively. From near bankruptcy in the early years to an estimated net worth today of $100 million, he played the long game. Much of his wealth is tied to royalties from his films and Broadway productions. His real estate portfolio includes luxury properties in Manhattan and Santa Monica, reportedly worth over $30 million. His Manhattan home alone is a grand pre-war apartment once shared with his late wife, Anne Bancroft. A love story that lasted 41 years, almost unheard of in Hollywood. While not known for flashy cars, Mel has been spotted in sleek black Mercedes and a classic Jaguar, opting for elegance over excess. His style has always been sharp, and he's often seen wearing understated but high-end timepieces, rumored to favor vintage Rolexes. Even at nearly 100, he hasn't slowed down. In 2021, his memoir delighted fans with hilarious and heartbreaking stories. Then in 2023, he stunned everyone with History of the World, Part 2, over 40 years after the original. He even lent his voice to Toy Story 4 and popped up in TV shows.
The industry never had to revive Mel Brooks. He never left. Now contrast that with James Hong, another powerhouse who carved his own legacy from the unlikeliest beginnings. Born in 1929 to Chinese immigrants in Minneapolis, James's journey was anything but smooth. His father ran an herbal shop, and young James soaked in the dramatic flair of Peking opera performers who passed through. But life had other plans. He trained as an engineer, earning a degree from USC, but his heart didn't beat for blueprints, it beat for stories. In 1953, he stormed into Hollywood at a time when people who looked like him were either ignored or misrepresented. Roles for Asian Americans were scarce, often demeaning. But James didn't wait for change. He became the change. He joined forces with actor Mako and co-founded East West Players, a theater company designed to give Asian American actors a real platform. At one point, 70% of working Asian actors had ties to East West Players. That's not just a theater group, it's a revolution that kept a community alive. James worked non-stop, year after year. In the 50s and 60s, he grabbed any role he could, from doctors to villains, from wise old men to cab drivers, each one stamped with depth and dignity. And then came the turning point. In Blade Runner, he was the man who built replicant eyes, a small role, but unforgettable. In Big Trouble in Little China, his villainous Lo-Pan became legendary. He didn't just play roles, he transformed scenes with his presence. His financial journey mirrored his work ethic. Steady, enduring, and impressive. James Hong's current net worth is estimated around $8 million. He didn't chase headlines, he built legacy. Real estate-wise, he owns a quiet but valuable portfolio in Los Angeles and Pasadena. Though not known for extravagance, Hong has enjoyed life with modest luxury, often seen in tailored suits, occasionally arriving at events in Teslas or Lexuses, and wearing subtle high-end watches like Seiko Grand or Omega. And his voice, oh, that unmistakable voice, became his signature in animation. He was the strict advisor in Mulan, Poe's noodle-loving father in Kung Fu Panda, and later, a spiritual guide in Wendell and Wild. Even as he entered his 90s, he remained a force in Hollywood. In 2022, at the age of 93, he took on a major role in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which swept awards and hearts alike. What makes these two legends, Brooks and Hong, so compelling isn't just their age or longevity, it's that they both refused to fade. They faced different struggles. One used comedy to defy the odds, the other carved space in an industry that didn't want him. And through it all, they both gave voice to something bigger, One made the world laugh when it desperately needed humor, and the other made sure that everyone saw themselves represented, even if he had to build the stage from scratch. It was a moment no one could ignore. When James Hong stepped onto the stage at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, it wasn't just another trophy in hand. It was a career coming full circle. As applause roared around him, there was something electric in the air, the undeniable feeling that justice had finally arrived. For a man once relegated to cliché roles and forgotten credits, that stage symbolized every fight he fought behind closed doors. And then came the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Not just a star, the moment. He became the oldest person to receive one, and the ceremony was drenched in emotion. Jamie Lee Curtis and Daniel Day Kim didn't just praise his talent, they saluted his unshakable courage. The lion dancers, the crowd, the cheers, it was a tribute long overdue. Back in the day, James Hong was no stranger to playing the same roles over and over. The accents, the stereotypes, the one-dimensional characters. But he turned every bit part into a stepping stone, chiseling out a career that defied every ceiling. Even now, deep into his 90s, he refuses to fade. He's producing a new movie, Patty Lee and the Keepers of the Five Kingdoms, because stopping simply isn't in his nature. And as a proud member of the Academy, he keeps mentoring young Asian and Pacific Islander actors, determined that no one else should have to fight the same battle he did. James's luxury lifestyle isn't loud but deeply layered. Over the years, his net worth has grown steadily to around $8 million. His real estate holdings include properties in Los Angeles and Pasadena, understated yet elegant homes surrounded by serenity. He's been seen in vintage Mercedes-Benz sedans and owns a tasteful collection of luxury watches, including a limited edition Omega, a nod to his love for craftsmanship. His wealth, built through steady film work, voice acting, and investments, reflects a man who played the long game. Beyond acting, James invested in theater groups and educational ventures, including partnerships in Asian American arts collectives.
With insurance policies covering health and professional liability, James exemplifies resilience wrapped in careful planning. His journey teaches us this: the slow grind may be unglamorous, but it wins in the end. Then there's Elizabeth Waldo, a name younger audiences might not recognize but absolutely should. Born in 1918, she isn't just one of Hollywood's oldest living figures. She's a bridge between cultures, genres, and centuries. What started as a classical music career took a thrilling detour across South America, where she found herself collecting ancient instruments and falling in love with indigenous soundscapes. Her collaborations with artists like Diego Rivera and Emma Sumac sparked something revolutionary. She didn't just perform music, she preserved it, reimagined it, and turned it into art that transcended time. At 106, Waldo remains a living testament to what it means to reinvent endlessly. Her real estate holdings include Rancho Cordillera del Norte, a cultural estate in Northridge, California valued at over $4 million. It houses a 150-seat theater and remains one of her proudest achievements. She invested in rare instruments, publishing rights, and educational outreach, ensuring her legacy won't be a silent one. With a modest net worth estimated at $3 million, her wealth lies in her cultural impact more than her bank balance. Her luxury was always in purpose, not possessions. But she did enjoy the finer things quietly, often seen wearing custom jewelry from Oaxaca and driving a classic 1970s Cadillac Eldorado. Her financial strategy? Invest in what moves the soul. And in doing so, she composed a legacy far richer than any royalty check. These figures continue to rise, not through viral fame or trending headlines, but through the undeniable truth of a life built with meaning. Hollywood may often look forward, but sometimes its richest treasures are found in the ones who never stopped dreaming, even when the lights dimmed. From Kung Fu master to Hollywood legend, James Hong proved age is just a number. Like, comment, and subscribe. Because next time, we're diving into another icon's epic journey.